All right, things are getting a little bit strange. There's something strange going on, and the mother of Tyler James Robinson, she's going off. She is fighting back online.
Calling case 251-403-576, State of Utah versus Tyler James Robinson. Could you state your name?
Tyler James Robinson.
Okay, the strangeness I'm talking about does not involve all these denials of evidence I've received in this case of Tyler James Robinson. He's only 22 years old. He's accused of taking out this very popular, very controversial Charles James Kirk, better known as Charlie Kirk. We might have all seen that horrific video. What was it, 7 days ago? Just had me stopped in my tracks at the park. The violence of it all. You can't even call it spatter. It was voluminous. I was sitting in the park watching the video like I wanted to tell everyone, can you believe this happened? I mean, I knew I'd heard the name, but I probably just clicked on it like, why is Charlie Kirk trending on Twitter? And then, boy, did I see why. Did many of us see why? Did a lot of us see that video we weren't prepared to watch? Apparently, it happened, allegedly, from Tyler's grandpa's rifle. This 22-year-old allegedly fired from hundreds of yards away. Just one shot did it. Only one shot, allegedly, with a $2,000 scope onto his grandpa's rifle. So more on all those body cam videos. I'm trying to get jail info, evidence I requested and was flat out denied, and the reasons why they gave me. I'll talk about that later. The weirdness I'm seeing growing on social media relates to just how many people are not believing the evidence already being presented. I have that song, Lunatic Fringe, in my head right now. Sometimes I think in song lyrics. Anyway, we heard a bunch of text message exchanges between Tyler and his alleged trans partner, Lance Twiggs. According to the New York Post, the Daily Mail, and many others who are digging into Twiggs right now.
For Christmas, I got one of those cookie boxes, but here's the magic part. Watch this. There are actually cookies inside of here, and I've never seen that in my life. We got this righteous Italian sandwich that really just doesn't look very Italian to me. Easy solution is just pop it open, get your spaghetti, and there we go.
We're going to dive deep into those text messages and talk about the growing phenomenon of these conspiracy theorists who just don't believe the evidence being presented to them. But first, let's dive deep into this life of Tyler before his tragic decision. So his mom was posting a lot of stuff on Facebook, like this perfect, seemingly perfect life. On May 18th, 2017, Tyler James Robinson's mom, Amber is her name, she wrote on Facebook, Tyler, not only did he grow about 2 feet in the last year, but he also managed to be on the high honor roll. He is beautifully talented on the piano and really enjoyed choir this year. He has a wonderful sense of humor and loves the outdoors. Tyler is my tech genius and the best helper I could ask for. So the strange thing is that her then son would have been like 14 years old. His date of birth is April 16th, 2003. He didn't look 14 in that piano video, and I was thinking maybe that's his little brother playing the piano, and she still wrote the caption about Tyler being great on the piano. Maybe it's Tyler sitting by his side. I don't know, that was a little confusing. Either way, little did his mother know, more than 8 years later, as he struggled, or whomever was struggling, to peck out Joyful, Joyful, We Adore Thee on the piano. Little did she know Tyler would be featured in surveillance videos, you know, all these little photos captured of being the alleged gunman, and she would recognize him as an alleged killer. And she even called Tyler, Amber did, and said, "Wait, is this you?" Can you imagine calling your own son, your own child, having to make that call? And he gave his mom some line about being sick or something. Well, now the state of Utah is intending to seek the death penalty. Tyler's being held without bail in the Utah County Jail in Spanish Fork, Utah. He finally showed up on Vine Leak. I've been looking for days, my goodness. But back on April 16th, 2018, Amber was wishing her son birthday wishes. It's a lot different than what she posted today, let me tell you. Back then, she sang, "Happy birthday to my favorite 15-year-old. This man-child has his mama's sense of humor, is crazy smart, and has a super fun personality. We love you, Tyler. Happy birthday. Hashtag slow down the time. Hashtag man-child. Hashtag so handsome." Now let's remember that smart compliment she gave Tyler when we start talking about these text messages he allegedly exchanged with Lance that are being trolled so much on Twitter. It's really funny. So a few days later, on April 26, 2018, Amber continued to brag. "Just watch this kid get an award for maintaining a 4.0 this year. Proud mama moment for sure. Hashtag smarty pants. Hashtag takes after his mama." I'm like, what is she calling the dad a dumbass or what? But no. Hashtag proud parent. Then on June 3rd, 2018, she updated the world again on her sons. And every time I'm looking, I laugh to myself, maybe inappropriately, but I keep hearing "My Three Sons," that 1960s sitcom intro in my head as I'm viewing, all of Amber's Facebook photos. I was able to grab a lot and get a video or two. She probably did believe she had that kind of perfect America as it once was kind of life back then. Amber wrote, "Tyler spent the week at CCNR camp and finished the weekend with us." So according to Utah State University, CCNR, I guess, is CCNRC. CCNRC, I'm assuming it's the Color Country Natural Resource Camp. It's designed to introduce high school students to natural resource career fields and a variety of recreational activities. Just going through her photos, might I say, it looks like a pretty happy childhood. I know Facebook doesn't show you everything that's going on, but we can see Tyler had a lot of opportunities to travel, like to Hawaii and all these different places, a lot of vacationing, looks like a beautiful home. I just always wonder about people who choose to make these deadly, horrific, life-changing, hurtful decisions in the blink of an eye and just, throw it all away and hurt so many other people. Anyway, on August 6th, 2018, Amber wrote about Tyler being the least excited kid to ever get a learner's permit. "He doesn't want to drive and doesn't want a car. Not sure where this boy came from, but I think I'll keep him anyway," she wrote. I'm like, boy, does she still feel that way? Now, I have heard some younger people, are they Generation Z? Is it okay to say Zoomers? Hopefully that's not an insult. Sometimes I never know hardly what's an insult these days. But I have heard that's something that a lot of younger people, some of them don't look forward to getting their license right away. I didn't get mine until I was 20. So who knows? That's one of those maybe quirky things that's different about Tyler. But his mom went on to celebrate Tyler on August 8th, 2018. She wrote, "Back to school date number 2 with my man-child. Love this kid so much. Can't believe he's a sophomore this year." So she took her sons individually on their little, dates before, okay, it's back to school. Seems like she thought of a lot. She sounds like a really doting mom. Of course, a lot of people glommed onto the gun photos. Apparently they went to visit an Uncle Mike somewhere. I don't know. I'm not going to publish all that. YouTube might not like that. But people are publishing it all over social media and kind of creating their own narrative, maybe what they feel about this family, about, oh, they were this, they were that, they were gun nuts, they were that. I don't know. I only was able to capture what I was able to capture. And by today, Wednesday, September 17th, is when I'm recording this, Amber was fighting back on Facebook. She posted a reel. She wrote, "I'm not proud of him. I didn't send him to hurt anyone. Y'all stop being judgmental and show some act of kindness. Never think it can't happen to you." So, I do have compassion for her there because, I think of like you're just going along one day, raising your children the best you know how, and one of them pops off and does something crazy you don't expect. Boy, I was looking at all the comments and the way people just take to, the parents' pages or the loved ones. It always trips me out because it's like, you don't know what this person knew. They may have had no idea this person had crazy plans brewing in their mind. And now all of a sudden, the Robinsons, their beautiful home address is showing up in court documents. I'm up there like redacting it. I put the documents on my Patreon, but first I was redacting their home addresses because there's just nutty people out there. And I'm like, well, maybe they can afford to go stay somewhere else, be safe, have guards, whatever. You never know. And all of a sudden, it's like their home address is out there. Someone was like, "Oh, did you get the court documents yet?" Right when, it took a while for them to go online. And so I've been purchasing so many court documents from Utah courts. And one of my Patreon members was messaging me like, "Did you get them yet? Did you get them yet? I think they're up." And I'm like, I'm redacting their home addresses now. They'll be up in a second. And I'm putting all this evidence up. There's a link to the entire Tyler collection below as I purchase more documents and get what evidence I can. They're denying me a lot of stuff, you'll see. But she's saying, look, never think it can't happen to you. And she wrote, why, with this sobbing face emoji with a photo of Tyler. It's a sad song by In-chan playing in the background. And then she also wrote, "Thanks to y'all trying to help in one way or the other. I would like to let the general public know that this is my one and only Facebook account for now." So she kept it, but she kind of hid some stuff that I was able to see before. So prior to her making her Facebook page mostly private, I spent time getting all the photos I could. I didn't want to dox her. I don't want to put any families in danger. I saw these nasty comments already popping up, even on like Tyler's alleged roommate TikTok. Like people just can go off. They can take their anger out so directly without even knowing like the details of the case, which is a danger. Which I noticed these trends. Not only is it so many people unwilling to accept what they're being presented as evidence from authorities, people too often it's just the rage, what Tyler's accused of doing, hearing viewpoints apparently that he didn't agree with and taking it into his own hands, as we'll see in these text messages. No matter who you agree with or disagree with, it's good that if we can talk. I kept listening. The book of James, it says, "Be quick to listen and slow to speak." If only so many people would just follow the wisdom of the Bible. I'm not talking about whatever Christian nationalism or guns and gods. I'm not talking about judgmental, pharisaical, whatever is being mixed in with Christianity. And that's the part that makes me the most upset, because I'm like, Jesus, you spoke of the least of these. You spoke of helping the widows. The Bible speaks of helping the fatherless. The Bible speaks of helping people who are foreigners, or it is this whole philosophy that's contrary to what I see being promulgated. Like it's not about who's better than, or it's not about America being, oh, this Christian nation and we're better than everyone and we better. Anyway, this is why I've stayed away from covering this case, even though I watched it, of course, for 7 days and I've been getting so much documentation. I didn't want to jump on here and pop off. I have seen the most outrageous things on either extreme being said about this case. That's why I'm like, yeah, let's be slow to speak, quick to listen, and try and understand everyone's point of view. And even if I don't agree with your point of view, I am not going to harm you. That's my whole point. I'm not going to physically do what Tyler's accused of doing. So when this 10-page information document came out, it revealed the text messages. So there was a presser and a hearing yesterday for Tyler Robinson. It was Tuesday, September 16th. I was so tired. I was like, oh, let me get all this down. Thank God they gave me the WebEx link and I was able to record it, and they made me promise not to give it to my YouTube viewers. They didn't want it to crash, so I don't want to do anything to harm any case. So I can't give that out, but I was able to record it, his WebEx hearing, and of course the presser, that was public, and get all this documentation. But the presser is where they delved into how Tyler was caught, the text messages he exchanged with Lance. So what I want to do is first, I want you to listen to Utah County Attorney Jeff Gray read those text messages and talk about, after that, we'll talk about why some people think these are fake and too formal for the 22-year-old to write. And I put the actual text of the document next to Attorney Gray speaking. So you can read along and then let's delve into it.
Turning to the 10-page information, these are the allegations. On September 10th, 2025, at approximately 12:23 p.m., Charlie Kirk was shot and killed while speaking to a large crowd on the campus of Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah. Police found the suspected murder weapon, a bolt-action .30-06 rifle, nearby. Over the next approximately 33 hours, police conducted a manhunt for the shooter until the evening of September 11th, 2025, when Tyler James Robinson surrendered to police at the Washington County Sheriff's Office. DNA consistent with Robinson was found on the rifle's trigger. After shooting Mr. Kirk, Robinson hid the gun, discarded the clothing he wore when he fired the rifle, and told his roommate to delete incriminating text messages and not talk to police. Children were present at the time of the shooting. The shooting. Turning Point USA, a nonprofit organization founded in 2012 by Charlie Kirk, organized a public outdoor event to be held at noon on September 10th, 2025 at UVU. The event was the first in a series of similar events to be held at college campuses nationwide. Mr. Kirk is a well-known conservative activist, famous for these type of events, where he discusses various political issues and debates with audience members. His events and comments have garnered a significant number of supporters and drawn the ire of many who disagree with his political views. The event at UVU was announced far in advance and garnered significant publicity and interest. Consequently, several hundred people attended. Mr. Kirk was interacting with a crowd before the event officially got underway. Then, at approximately noon, Mr. Kirk seated himself under a portable canopy behind a table and microphone. He began speaking to the crowd and fielding questions from attendees, a format Mr. Kirk commonly used at his events. Mr. Kirk allowed his questioners to approach a microphone positioned directly in front of him. Mr. Kirk's team members were very close to him on his right and left, as well as some behind his canopy and others at various close locations near him. The large crowd surrounded Mr. Kirk on three sides. Temporary metal fencing separated attendees from Mr. Kirk by only a matter of feet. Directly above and behind Mr. Kirk was the UVU Hall of Flags, an indoor walkway spanning several hundred feet with floor-to-ceiling glass windows which overlooked the plaza where Mr. Kirk was seated. People were in the walkway at the time of the shooting. Approximately 15 minutes into the event, Mr. Kirk was answering a question about mass shootings by transgender individuals when a gunshot rang out. The bullet struck Mr. Kirk in the neck. He slumped to the ground almost immediately. The bullet's trajectory passed closely to several other individuals beside Mr. Kirk, including the questioner who was standing directly in front of Mr. Kirk. Children were visible near Mr. Kirk's stage when he was shot. Mr. Kirk was rushed to a nearby hospital where he was declared deceased. The medical examiner's report is still pending. So UVU surveillance. So at the moment of the shot, a UVU police officer was watching the crowd from an elevated vantage point. As soon as he heard the shot, he began to scan the area for threats. Believing the shot came from a rifle because of its sound, he looked for potential sniper positions. He noted a roof area approximately 160 yards away from Mr. Kirk as a potential shooting position and rushed there to look for evidence. The suspected shooting position is adjacent to an open, publicly accessible walkway. To access the suspected location, a person must climb over a railing and then drop to the roof only slightly below. The UV officer climbed over the railing and down onto the roof. He then walked to the suspected shooting position and confirmed a clear shooting corridor between the position and Mr. Kirk's seat. He also noticed markings in the gravel rooftop, consistent with a sniper having lain on the roof, impressions in the gravel potentially left by the elbows, knees, and feet of a person in a prone shooting position. Police reviewed surveillance from the camera covering the roof and discovered that it recorded an individual dressed in dark clothing cross the railing from the public walkway and drop onto the roof at approximately 12:15 p.m. Although the individual moved out of the camera's view for a short time, the camera again captured the individual running across the roof and then low crawling to the area the UVU officer recognized as where the suspected sniper had dropped into a prone shooting position. After a short time, which matches the known time of the shot, the individual arose and ran across the roof to the northeast. This discovery led to an intensive review of UVU surveillance recordings to attempt to track and identify the suspect. Surveillance revealed the following. At approximately 11:51 a.m., the suspect entered campus from the north. He is seen wearing a black shirt with an American flag in the center, a dark baseball cap, and large sunglasses. Throughout the surveillance, the suspect keeps his head down and rarely raises his head enough to get a clear image of his face. As he proceeds across the campus, he is seen walking with an unusual gait. The suspect walks with very little bending in his right leg, consistent with a rifle being hidden in his pants. This unusual gait continues until the suspect is seen crossing the railway off the open walkway and onto the roof, where he leaves the camera's view. A camera later captures the suspect as he runs across the roof to the suspected shooting position. Immediately after the shot was fired, a camera captures the suspect running across the roof carrying an item whose shape is consistent with a rifle. The suspect is then seen climbing down from the roof. He appears to drop the item he was carrying as he hits the ground in a controlled fall. He then picks up the item and runs toward the northeast end of campus. Expanded crime scene investigation. Law enforcement officers followed the suspect's escape path to the northeast end of campus, where they believe the suspect left campus and entered a wooded area. In that wooded area, investigators found a bolt-action rifle wrapped in a towel. The rifle contained one spent round and 3 unspent rounds. This is consistent with the facts officers observed at the time of and immediately after the shootings. No shell casings were found on the roof, suggesting a bolt action rather than an auto-loading weapon, and only a single round was fired. Each round in the rifle contained an etched inscription as follows. The fired cartridge was etched, "No Tice's bulge, OWO, what's this?" The second cartridge that was again not spent, the last three were not spent, were not fired. The second, "Hey fascist, catch," with arrow symbols. The third cartridge, "Oh Bella Ciao, Bella Ciao, Bella Ciao, Ciao Ciao." The fourth cartridge, "If you read this, you are gay, LMAO." The rifle, ammunition rounds, and towel were sent for forensic processing. DNA consistent with defendant was found on the trigger, other parts of the rifle, the fired cartridge casing, 2 of the 3 unfired cartridges, and the towel. Law enforcement was unable to immediately locate the shooter, so they published photos of the shooter from the UVU surveillance cameras and asked for the public's help to identify him. Meanwhile, law enforcement continued to try to identify the shooter through other means. The Washington County investigation. On the evening of September 11th, 2025, as law enforcement continued their investigation, Tyler James Robinson went to the Washington County Sheriff's Office with his parents and a family friend to turn himself in. Robinson's mother stated that the following to police. On September 11th, 2025, the day after the shooting, Robinson's mother saw the photo of the shooter in the news and thought the shooter looked like her son. Robinson's mother called her son and asked him where he was. He said he was at home sick and that he had also been at homesick on September 10th. Robinson's mother expressed concern to her husband that the suspect shooter looked like Robinson. Robinson's father agreed. Robinson's mother explained that over the last year or so, Robinson had become more political and had started to lean more to the left, becoming more pro-gay and trans rights oriented. She stated that Robinson began to date his roommate, a biological male who was transitioning genders. This resulted in several discussions with family members, but especially between Robinson and his father, who have very different political views. In one conversation before the shooting, Robinson mentioned that Charlie Kirk would be holding an event at UVU, which Robinson said was a stupid venue for the event. Robinson accused Kirk of spreading hate. Robinson's father reported that when his wife showed him the surveillance image of the suspected shooter in the news, he agreed that it looked like their son. He also believed that the rifle that police suspected the shooter used matched a rifle that was given to his son as a gift. As a result, Robinson's father contacted his son and asked him to send a photo of the rifle. Robinson did not respond. However, Robinson's father spoke on the phone with Robinson. Robinson implied that he planned to take his own life. Robinson's parents were able to convince him to meet at their home. As they discussed the situation, Robinson implied that he was the shooter and stated that he couldn't go to jail and just wanted to end it. When asked why he did it, Robinson explained there is too much evil and the guy, referring to Charlie Kirk, spreads too much hate. They talked about Robinson turning himself in and convinced Robinson to speak with a family friend who is a retired deputy sheriff. At Robinson's father's request, the family friend met with Robinson and his parents and convinced Robinson to turn himself in. The family friend spoke to police and reported telling Robinson that it would be best if he brought all evidence with him to the sheriff's office to avoid police having to search his parents' home. The friend also asked Robinson if he had any clothes that were related to what he did. Robinson replied that he had disposed of the clothes in different areas. The roommate. Police interviewed Robinson's roommate, a biological male who was involved in a romantic relationship with Robinson. The roommate told police that the roommate received messages from Robinson about the shooting, and he did provide those messages to police. On September 10th, 2025, the roommate received a text message from Robinson which said, "Drop what you're doing. Look under my keyboard." The roommate looked under the keyboard and found a note that stated, quote, "I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it." Police found a photograph of this note. The following text exchange, then took place. After reading the note, the roommate responded, "What? You're joking, right?" Robinson, "I am still okay, my love, but am stuck in Orem for a little while longer yet. Shouldn't be long until I can come home, but I gotta grab my rifle still. To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. I am sorry to involve you." Roommate, "You weren't the one who did it, right?" Robinson, I am. I'm sorry." Roommate, "I thought they caught the person." Robinson, "No, they grabbed some crazy old dude, then interrogated someone in similar clothing. I had planned to grab my rifle from my drop point shortly after, but most of that side of town got locked down. It's quiet, almost enough to get out, but there's one vehicle lingering." Roommate, "Why?" Robinson, "Why did I do it?" Roommate, "Yeah." Robinson, "I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. If I am able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence. Going to attempt to retrieve it again. Hopefully they have moved on. I haven't seen anything about them finding it." Roommate, "How long have you been planning this?" Robinson, "A bit over a week, I believe. I can get close to it, but there is a squad car parked right by it. I think they already swept that spot, but I don't want to chance it." Robinson again, "I'm wishing I had circled back and grabbed it as soon as I got to my vehicle. I'm worried what my old man would do if I didn't bring back Grandpa's rifle. IDEK if it's had a serial number, but it wouldn't trace to me. I worry about prints. I had to leave it in a bush where I changed outfits. Didn't have the ability or time to bring it with. I might have to abandon it and hope they don't find prints. How the F will I explain losing it to my old man? Only thing I left was the rifle wrapped in a towel. Remember how I was engraving bullets? The F in messages are mostly a big meme. If I see notice bulge UWU on Fox News, I might have a stroke all right. I'm going to have to leave it. That really effing sucks. Judging from today, I'd say Grandpa's gun does just fine, IDK. I think that was a $2K scope. Wink, wink. Robinson again. Delete this exchange. Again, Robinson. My dad wants photos of the rifle. He says Grandpa wants to know who has what. The feds released a photo of the rifle, and it is very unique. He's calling me, RN. Not answering. Robinson. Since Trump got into office, my dad has been pretty diehard MAGA. Robinson. I'm going to turn myself in willingly. One of my neighbors here is a deputy for the sheriff. Again, you are all I worry about, love. That came from Robinson. Roommate, I'm much more worried about you. Robinson, don't talk to the media, please. Don't take any interviews or make any comments. If any police ask you questions, ask for a lawyer and stay silent. The search for Robinson's residence. Police executed a search warrant on Robinson's residence. During that search, police discovered a shell casing with etchings like the etchings found on the shells in the rifle near UVU. Police also found several target boards with bullet holes in Robinson's home. Now, as I stated in the beginning, when I read those allegations, these are allegations. And like the evidence set forth in this statement, those allegations, what you've heard from the media, even from state and federal officials, has not been tested in the crucible of a jury trial. I understand the public's desire to know the facts. My own family members have pressed me for information. Why are we reluctant to share the details of the investigation itself and comment on the case? Because I want to ensure a fair and impartial trial. I became a prosecutor because of my love for the ideals of this great country and the principles embedded in our Constitution. The free exchange of ideas and opinions is critical to this great American experiment, but so too are the protections afforded to the accused found in the Fifth and Sixth Amendments. The right against self-incrimination, the right to a speedy and public trial, the right to the effective assistance of counsel, the right to confront one's accusers, and the right to compel the attendance of witnesses. And perhaps most importantly, under our Constitution, the accused is presumed innocent until we, the state, prove to an impartial jury of defendant's peers his guilt beyond a reasonable doubt.
Okay, so the part where it's like, look, it was September 10th, and Lance said he received this text message from Tyler. It said, drop what you're doing, look under my keyboard. So already people are like, wait a minute, it's written too formally. A 22-year-old doesn't write like that. I don't know. Part of me thinks, okay, yeah, Tyler might have really written like this. You know, not everything is like abbreviated texting language. Tyler might have really written like this because it was urgent. Now, these may have been some of the last words Tyler thought he would have exchanged with Lance, so maybe you would be a little more serious. Maybe you would be a little more formal and direct in your writing. You know, everything wouldn't be like, WYD, you know, what you doing? Or, you know, it wouldn't just be like eyes. I mean, I'm a big emoji person. I'm in my 50s, I'm 56, and I'm like huge with the emojis, mom emojis, and I know I write a lot of stuff and send a bunch of memes around too. But I don't know, would a 22-year-old write this way? So it says the roommate looked under the keyboard and found a note, and the note stated, I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it. And police found a photograph of this note. So I wonder if they found the actual note. Wasn't there something from the FBI director saying the note got destroyed? I don't know, that's another reason people are like, is this real or not? But then that following text message exchange took place. And the fact that these text messages have been, you know, placed in the document for easier reading, it's making people question it. So the roommate Lance allegedly read the note and he said, what? A whole bunch of question marks. That looks, you know, correct. You're joking, right? And Tyler is like, I'm still okay, my love, but I'm stuck in Orem, so that's in Utah, for a little while longer yet. They think that's really formal. Shouldn't be long until I can come home, but I gotta grab my rifle still. To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. I'm sorry to involve you. Now, did he really write to be honest, or did he write TBH? Who knows? We have to see it when we see the actual text messages. Maybe he really did, or maybe, I don't know. People are like, wait a minute. why is he saying this way? He's hoping to keep it secret till he died of old age. I'm sorry to involve you. That really could have been what Tyler wrote. And then they're like, why did he leave his rifle behind? All these questions, yes, they could be valid questions, but that's what a jury will go over and deliberate for, who knows, days and days and days. It doesn't mean it's fake. Just because people might do things differently or weirdly does not mean the government is just producing all this evidence. So people are over on Twitter now. It's pretty funny. It's not funny that, of course, someone lost his life. What's funny is the people on Twitter turning this into Shakespearean type formal language because they think it's much too formal for a 22-year-old. Well, this is a 4.0 student. He knows how to spell your, as in you are. He knows to put the apostrophe there. He's not misspelling that. I know I can be a grammar snob sometimes too, but that kind of basic stuff really gets to me. He knows how to write correctly. And Lance is allegedly like, you weren't the one who did it, right? More question marks. So that tracks. I mean, at first he wrote, 10 or something question marks and even more. And then he wrote more question marks. So that's consistent with Lance's texting. And Tyler allegedly says, I'm sorry. And Lance is like, I thought they caught the person. And then Tyler's like, no, they grabbed some crazy old dude. Yeah, that's the guy who's gone off and being arrested for CSAM. Now, have you seen that? It's like the guilt was calling out in him. I did it. He was trying to help Tyler get away, allegedly. But I don't think Tyler knew him, maybe. Anyway, so then they interrogated someone in similar clothing. Now, people are all like, oh my goodness, how could a 22-year-old know the word interrogated? Maybe he watches a lot of true crime. They also speak of Tyler growing up as a Mormon, I believe. They were like, well, maybe did that shelter him? Is that why he speaks differently? Who knows? But they interrogated someone in similar clothing. I don't even know who that was. Tyler wrote, I had planned to grab my rifle from my drop point. They're all like, how does he know about drop points? Shortly after, most of that side of town got locked down. It's quiet, almost enough to get out, but there's one vehicle lingering. So these are all words to me that an intelligent 22-year-old would know, especially a guy who's been thinking about such a dangerous crime. And if he's familiar with weapons, if he's familiar with the true crime world and law enforcement, even though his dad is not law enforcement, as was incorrectly reported for a while, he would know these things: drop point, vehicle, lingering. I mean, to me, it's more of an assumption to think, oh, every 22-year-old, wouldn't know this stuff. Everything would be texting language and where's the emojis? That doesn't mean every 22-year-old speaks that way. Anyway, Lance wants to know why. Tyler, why did I do it? Yeah, I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. Those lines. It just gets to me. I hope we're not going here as this lawless society. Whenever someone is speaking and they anger you, they trigger you, you don't like their thoughts, you don't like their ideals, you don't like their philosophy, you don't take Tyler's stance. Some hate can't be negotiated out. What, all of a sudden did he turn into God on the throne, or the death angel, and get his assignment and decide he's going to do that and terrorize people and in front of children? And I don't know if Charlie's wife and young children were there or not, but I don't want this to be the social media echo chamber on either side, wherever you fall. I don't want people thinking this is okay. Anyway, Tyler wrote, if I am able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence. Going to attempt to retrieve it again. Hopefully they have moved on. I haven't seen anything about them finding it. They have periods, they have commas. Maybe this kid just literally knew English. He knows how to conjugate a verb. What's the harm in that? More people need to know. I'm not on his side. I'm just saying I find it odd that people are surprised that a 22-year-old can be well-spoken or well-written. Maybe because some stuff, literally, we read online, I have to read it sometimes 3 times over. Sometimes I still can't even get what the person is trying to express because they never use punctuation. And I'm like, do they still teach it? I mean, I used to hate when they used to have to parse sentences, and that part kind of went over my head sometimes. Sometimes I got it, prepositional phrases, and here's the verb and here's the noun. But I'm like, do they even still teach that in school? I literally don't know, because some people, the way they write on social media, and I get it, not everyone is taught, but I feel like at least we should try and better ourselves. If you don't use punctuation, sometimes you can't even tell what they're talking about. So Lance allegedly is like, how long have you been planning this? Tyler's like a bit over a week, I believe, so only over a week. I can get close to it, but there is a squad car parked right by it. I think they already swept that spot, but I don't want to chance it. So just because he's using stuff like squad car, phrases like, whatever, swept that spot, interrogated, people are coming up with the theory, oh, law enforcement wrote this. They wrote this themselves. And I'm like, that doesn't mean, and you never know where these theories, these conspiracies come from. It could come from a person who didn't want it to be Tyler. They could be coming from a person who had their own agenda. They wanted it to be someone of a different race, a different persuasion, a different whatever, and it didn't fit their narrative. Like they always say in true crime, we have to let the evidence lead us wherever it goes. Just follow the actual evidence, and that leads you to the truth. We can't have these preconceived notions in our minds about what it's about. You remember after Charlie Kirk was felled so horribly, that video, right after that, these HBCUs are getting threatened. That just shows me the knee-jerk, prejudice, deep-down reaction some people have without evidence. And it scares me that people like this could ever be on a jury. No matter the race, the color, the creed, the sex, whatever, let the evidence lead you, not any preconceived notions floating around in a person's head because they're of a particular political persuasion and they don't want it to be this person or that person. And we still don't know. Tyler is still innocent until proven guilty. I'm not saying don't ever question authority. I'm saying don't jump to conclusions. Obviously, Tyler allegedly jumped to a bunch of conclusions and decided he was the one who would just stop this rhetoric in the worst way possible, just harming people, causing trauma. I can't even imagine the kids or the people who were literally there. If it was that bad watching it on video, to the point where I'm sitting in a park like wanting to tell people, did you see this? And I know they would see it soon. Imagine how it was for the people who were right there. I can't imagine. So Tyler's saying he had been planning it a bit over a week and he could get close. Maybe they've already swept that spot. There's a squad car there. He didn't want to chance it. Tyler said, I'm wishing I had circled back and grabbed it as soon as I got to my vehicle. So he must have left somewhere, the rifle somewhere. I'm worried what my old man would do if I didn't bring back Grandpa's rifle. So they're like, oh yeah, these cops just really got all the words in, all the evidence they wanted. He's saying my old man. What 22-year-old calls their dad my old man? I don't know. My son calls, my husband Pops. Or, I don't know. What language do 20-something-year-olds use? Maybe he's heard the term old man. IDEK. I always just see IDK. So I don't know. I don't know what the E is for. Anyway, I don't know if it had a serial number, but it wouldn't trace to me. So Tyler allegedly didn't check. I don't know how old this rifle is. If it's truly his grandpa's rifle, it's probably really old. And people are also like, once I was like, oh my, I heard at the presser that the rifle was gifted to him. Perhaps his granddad, I'm assuming, gave it to his dad, and his dad gave it to Tyler. So I immediately think of that other couple, remember in Michigan, who got in trouble. They actually were arrested because their son was a school shooter, but that was a little bit different because I think there was more warning. They gave their son that weapon, and he had written some crazy stuff, and the school called them in and everything, and then they kind of just left anyway. So I was like, whoa, maybe the parents here, people are thinking, are they afraid they would be arrested too? But maybe they had, of course, no idea of Tyler's plans. So he doesn't know if it has a serial number. He knows it wouldn't trace to him. He worries about prints. I worry about prints if I had to leave it in a bush where I changed outfits. So he was somewhere in some bush changing outfits. He didn't have the ability or time to bring it with. I might have to abandon it and hope they don't find prints. How the F will I explain losing it to my old man? And there's a lot of ellipses, even more than 3. Well, maybe they just left out stuff. I mean, the ellipses might have been placed there, of course, by the police just to note there's stuff missing that we don't see. Only thing I left was the rifle wrapped in a towel. Remember how I was engraving bullets? And people are just like, oh, this is too on the nose. Why don't they just give it to you on a silver platter here? Anyway, he's saying the effing messages, and he left the G off. And I see a lot of people do that too with the effing. The effing messages are mostly a big meme. If I see notices bulge and it says UWU, where it's supposed to say OWU here, and he's trying to say it on Fox News, but it says Fox New, I might have a stroke. All right, I'm gonna have to leave it. That really effing sucks. So that notices bulge, we've seen that meme, and it's like just a weird meme and stuff he put allegedly on the bullets. Judging from today, Tyler said, I'd say Grandpa's gun does just fine. IDK, I think that was a $2,000 scope. And some people are like, that scope was probably cheaper than that. And then Tyler's like, delete this exchange. So that's when he caught the other charge for trying to, tamper with a witness. So Lance became a witness, getting these text messages. And Lance will have to testify to this stuff in court. Eventually we'll get the Celebrite download, hopefully, of Tyler's phone, see more evidence. Tyler allegedly said, my dad wants photos of the rifle. So at some point, his dad and mom probably started getting hip. They were probably like, wait a minute, okay, where's that rifle? Send me a photo, let me compare it. Tyler says he says Grandpa wants to know who has what. The feds released a photo of the rifle, and it is very unique. So whatever's unique about this rifle, I know we learned what kind it is, but I'm not a big weapons person. Tyler's like, he's calling me RN, not answering, so RN right now, I don't know. People were expecting the entire text exchange to be full of these, little things like, dude, bro. Somebody was like, I don't see one dude, bro. I had to look up some of the stuff. 6, 7, supposedly that means like, leave me alone or something, if that's what if Google's correct. Who knows? Anyway, Tyler wrote, since Trump got into office, my dad, that's what's in brackets. So he didn't literally write my dad. Maybe he wrote he's, or his dad, Matthew, or whatever his name is. My dad has been pretty diehard MAGA. Tyler said, I'm gonna turn myself in willingly, so obviously this is later. One of my neighbors here is a deputy for the sheriff. Tyler wrote, you are all I worry about, love. And Lance wrote, I'm much more worried about you. Then Tyler is like, don't talk to the media, please. Don't take any interviews or make any comments. And if police ask you questions, ask for a lawyer and stay silent. So what do you think of those text messages? I wish we could see them, but evidence has been denied so far. So Tyler's arrest date for some reason is listed in the documents as September 12th, 2025. So maybe that's really his arrest date. I thought he was arrested on the 11th. I thought he turned himself in. I don't know how late it was. I should look back at VineLink to look at the booking time. Anyway, Tyler did turn himself in, supposedly with that family friend, wasn't it? Like a priest or someone, pastor. But I'm like, is he being cooperative? We heard he hasn't been, I thought. And the reporters were trying to ask at the presser yesterday, but they didn't get answers. Did the officers pop on their body cams when, he walks into, I guess, the Utah County Sheriff's Office, wherever he turned himself in? I hope they popped on their body cam real quick. I want to see that video. Do they have any interrogation videos? Is Tyler getting phone calls and video visits or in-person visits in this Utah jail? So of course, if we see that Celebrite download data of Tyler's phone, that might help to quell some of this, it's just reminding me of the Brian Kohberger case. People to this day don't believe he's guilty. And I feel like back in the day, it was a smaller portion of society, but with social media, the echo chamber, maybe it makes people think, like if they don't get out and just talk to people in real life, it makes them think all these wild thoughts. We'll have to wait. Okay, this is what the Utah County Records Officer told me on Monday, September 15th. I'm in receipt of your Utah Government Records Grandma Act request, dated September 13th. So this is what I requested: access to and copies of all documents, body cam videos, transport videos, in-car videos, dash cam videos related to the arrest of Tyler James Robinson. I thought perhaps they had caught him somewhere. This is before I knew he turned himself in. I wanted to see, did they grab him at his house or somewhere, and then the in-car, transport video. I also wanted all 911 call audio, incident reports, booking photos for Tyler and the following individuals at the following address. So his mom and dad at their Washington, Utah home. I also requested jail file info from his jail file, like disciplinary records, just everything. I want commissary. I always like to see everything. Audio of the jail calls, video of the video visits, approved visitors list, visitors history, call list history, bond amount, all this stuff. And so that's what they call it, records. At this time, your request is denied. So they're subject to a pending investigation. They're classified as protected pursuant to this Utah code. The preemptive release of the records could reasonably interfere with the ongoing investigation. I don't want to do that. Could reasonably interfere with criminal enforcement proceedings and the criminal prosecution of the subject, and would create a danger of depriving the subject to a fair trial or impartial hearing. We could see yesterday at the presser, he's like, no, I read you all these 10 pages. Basically, that's all you're going to get. Furthermore, pursuant to this Utah code, releasing certain records from the Washington County Jail, doesn't that sound different than the jail he's in? That's what I keep getting confused about. It seems like he's in a different jail. I gotta verify. Anyway, records released from this jail would jeopardize the security and safety of that facility. And some of them are subject to attorney-client privilege, blah, 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 blah. I would need to contact the court for the court records I wanted, which, I've been doing, getting those, and I can appeal this denial at any point. So it's telling me the appeal process. I don't know if I'll do all that, blah, blah, blah. We'll see. Tyler will be back in court on WebEx Monday, September 29th at 10 a.m. local time. He'll have a lawyer by then. Hopefully he's broke. He didn't really have representation, I guess, did he? Well, he had temporary representation in court yesterday, but it wasn't going to be like his permanent lawyer. But he's broke. People are like, why didn't his parents collect that $100,000? And then they would have money for his bail and all that stuff. And people were like, look, Tyler's grown. He's on his own. He's indigent, so he'll have to figure it out on his own. I mean, he's already messed up his parents' lives, and not to mention the Kirk family's lives. I mean, that sorrow I can't even imagine. And the 3-year-old asking her mom, Erica, where's daddy? And her saying he's on a work trip with Jesus. Oh my goodness. Anyway, Tyler's on his own. He's messed up enough lives. People can assume folks knew of his plans. But you can find the links to more court documents below. I keep buying them almost every day as they pop up. In the state of Utah versus Tyler James Robinson. And one is a new one. It's the request for designation of victim representative in the case. It's being requested that Erica Kirk, the widow of Charles James Kirk, be designated the representative of the victims in this case. So there you go. Let's close out with 1 Chronicles 14:11. David and his army marched to Baal Perazim. I always read these biblical locations. I even Google them. Sometimes I'm like, I'm probably butchering the name. Where they attacked and defeated the Philistines. He said, I defeated my enemies because God broke through them like a mighty flood. So he named the place, the Lord broke through. So we will see the Lord's will and judgment. God loves justice. Justice has no color. So we need to find truth and not have hate in our hearts and not think we should take the law into our own hands and do what Tyler's accused of doing. Okay, that's enough for now. Thanks for watching all this. Of course, I'm covering many other cases. Please stay tuned. Take care.